also been issued by the chairman of the various local government. But because of insecurity and discovery of the fact that most of these arms go into the wrong hands and they are used in tormenting citizens, not just tormenting them, in committing all kinds of crime like killing, murder, and like also robbery. And so that has ceased. And I know that a few years back, the government and through the Inspector General of Police made it very clear that anybody who intends to have any kind of gun must apply to the President, Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I know also that it will go through the National Security Advisor, who will look at that and process that. For now, I do not think that the police or any organization have the right to issue whatever firearms, whether for gaming or not, because that has been found to have been misused and misplaced.
So the firearms that we see with some vigilante groups and some security outfits are licensed by the Inspector General of Police, and so otherwise these groups wouldn't have them in the first place, if that is correct.
Yes, it is not possible for anybody, either a governor or any other person outside, those who will look at the demand from such an individual or group and process that through the National Security Advisor. And I think the National Security Advisor would also want to assess that, and for the purpose of clarity, it is Mr. President that grant the license for the bearing of firearms.
Dr. Uzoma, talk to me a bit about the somewhat, I would not, do I describe it as a lacuna now? I mean, the Constitution not guaranteeing the right to possession of firearms, and yet not explicit on the citizens or private citizens not having that same right. I mean, there seems to be somewhat of a lacuna or something missing somewhere.
Okay, in line with social contracts, of which there was a departure between the state of nature and the modern state, it becomes the responsibility of the state to guarantee security of citizenry and properties. In that regard, yes. So the police has the mandate of protection of lives and properties. So that being the case, individuals don't have the right to bear arms. But given as the state progresses and we are having insecurity, and it seems that maybe the number of police are not sufficient enough to protect the citizenry, there is this call to have a support, and that's where you have the vigilante, the civilian JTF being part, but still under the control or supervisions of the police. So should they have a license for gun whatsoever? It's not being given to the individual, but rather the security outfits has been regulated by the states. So when you have them in terms of state, so it goes, they came into being by the establishment of the enabling law of the state as recognized by the federal government. So when they apply quote and unquote, is being given, for instance, the Omoteco as a body, not individual persons. And that being the case, their classification of guns, firearms they should have, and it doesn't go beyond double barrel and single barrel guns. But these days we also see them possessing a pump action. But such entity cannot possess license like what you have special machine guns or the AK-47.
Barrister Bani, I'll need for you to clear this up a bit for us. The 1999 Constitution guarantees every citizen the right to life under sections 33 subsections 1, and in subsection 2A gives private citizens the authority to use reasonable force to defend him or herself from unlawful violence or for the defense of property. This is at the center of the right to self-defense. So is self-defense vile gun ownership legally out of place or far-reached, even within the ambit of the Firearm Act?
Yeah, it's an intelligent question. If the Constitution has guaranteed your right, and then also give you the right to defend yourself in case of any assault on your life, whatever you will use for that defense must be something that is legally also acceptable or provided for under the law. If the Firearms Act says you cannot possess any gun except for gaming, and of course for that gaming you must have license, it will be wrong for you now to illegally acquire a gun and then rely on that subsection you just mentioned now in order to commit whatever you want to do by way of self-defense, and say, look, you were defending yourself, that was why you are using that particular gun. The issue is, was that gun allowed under any law for you to be used in the first place, even to engage in this self-defense? I think that is the issue. The issue of owning a gun is not a constitutional right. I mean, it's not a right guaranteed under the Constitution. As a doctor has spoken about the issue of protection of lives and property and welfare, that clearly is the primary responsibility of the state. The state does that and ensure that the environment is very conducive for everyone to go about his or her normal business without any molestation, without any anarchy, because it was this anarchy thing that made us to form a government. And government put that responsibility to make sure that the environment is very safe. So if there are issues that are now cropping up in terms of insecurity, and the same government that ought to protect lives and property is now throwing up their arms, in the air and say, oh, go ahead and acquire gun, without the legal framework being established and all that, then it's going to create a lot of confusion. And we know the issue of having gun in this country, my brother. We have to look at it, very holistically. We have to look at it, the issue of philosophy sociology have to come in. The issue of the people's way of life have to come in. Even in America, where it's being used, there is a strict regulation that is going on, I'm sure. You're aware of the law.
Yes, the latest amendment that the president, I think he should have signed it by now, if he hasn't already.
Beautiful. They are trying.
It's a landmark decision, bipartisan decision reached by...
Beautiful, sir.
Yes.
Beautiful. So if you have a sane country where people eat 3 square meal a day, have electricity 24/7, and then have all the basic infrastructure, still killing one another at slightest provocation, you can imagine what will happen here, where there is frustration. It's like we're living in hell here, and then you now arm people with guns. I can assure you that half of the population of the country, would have been fell down by usage of gun here. You allow it, everyone to possess gun and all.
Barrister Bani, you just said something and it just struck a chord. Sometimes when I'm driving, I have this small, this kind of vehicle that they call 2K vehicle. That's what I drive in Abuja, is a 2K vehicle. So sometimes I'm pushing it along the expressway by Kubo Abuja, and then these big trucks. Back in the day, it used to be these big trucks, they don't give you way, and I'm driving my small 2K, and then this big truck just comes and it wants to almost push me. It has happened to me once or twice. Just shove you off the road. I mean, that happens with a vehicle that is not even a firearm, and somebody with a bigger vehicle, just so because they have a larger size, shove you off the road for just what now happens if somebody now comes, and even if government says, okay, yes, I give you this small pistol, and then somebody comes with a chakabula. And then, is that not the same scenario? I mean, just...
And that is actually what will play out. I can assure you that many lives will be lost. There was a time somebody was pushing for this. I don't know whether you remember. A member of the House last year, I think he is one of those returnees who eventually managed to find himself in the House. And it was pushing for an amendment for a new law that will allow Nigerians to carry gun. It was during that time everyone was complaining about a state of insecurity. A lot of people have mooted the idea. The point is that it is clearly a failure, on our own part in terms of governance. If we are now saying everyone begin to possess the gun, the basic responsibility the government ought to do is to ensure that lives and properties are protected. Now, what have they done so far that has now led to the extent now people now recommending, let everyone carry gun? So I don't think it is this ripe now for Nigerians to be advocating for everyone to carry gun, because I know that the consequences will be more dangerous than the problem we want to solve.
You know, let me ask you this too. I mean, since I have you there, what does the law say about committing an offense to prevent an offense or a crime from happening? Of course, this is different from double jeopardy, I should say. So, in the event that in self-defense you also do commit an offense, what option of legal defense are you likely to have? Can you maybe, you know what? Can you create two scenarios for us that may vary depending on the situation?
Yeah, the issue is that in the law court, the court do not reach decision most time, based on sentiment. It is on the facts that are presented, the circumstances. Because anyone that is alleged to have committed a crime, the prosecution has this duty to present the facts leading to that crime commission. So when you allege that somebody has committed a crime, maybe he's in his house, and then maybe he just come back from work and discover that the neighbor is sleeping with the wife, and then he wants to probably raise his hand against his wife, and the man now want to hit him as a man, and so maybe he has knife or gun or whatever, he now use it to kill that intruder. One, you are sleeping with his wife. Secondly, you also want to harm him in the process of trying to correct his wife, and then he has the right now probably to take away her life. So when you present this kind of complex evidence before the court will have to look at it from beginning. Who committed offense? What manner of the self-defense? Was the self-defense you were probably engaged on, commensurate to the harm that was actually, ought to be, done to you, which you anticipated that man who was in the house wanted to do to you. Now, in self-defense, you have to save your life because self-preservation is the first law. You now have to kill him in order to preserve your life and all that. So it is this complex evidence and facts that the court will have to look at before arriving at a very, very sound position that will meet out the justice of the matter. So there are many instances again, maybe also going on the road, an armed robber, stops you and then want to, take away your car, and in the process, there is gone. So if you have any gun, even though it's illegal, and you shoot that armed robber at that point in time, it becomes a more complex issue. So you also go to court. The court may not charge you for murder. They may probably
even though that's your firearm is illegal.
Yes.
Yeah, even if they may not be. Now I'm saying that you have killed, but it may not be murder now. It may not go for murder. It may be manslaughter. For murder means life. I mean, death. When there is this, is the facts of the case, my brother, that will determine all that. The court will look at all the facts. You are going on your way, an armed robber with gun, probably armed, want to kill you and also take away your car. But in the process, you have a gun that is unlicensed, and they now use it to kill this armed robber. So will it be good for the state now to charge you for murder, which if you are convicted, you will be sentenced to death, or probably to ask you to be charged for manslaughter, which gives you maybe 7 or 8 years imprisonment because you have committed a crime. So these are issues that the court will examine before they arrive. It is the circumstances of the case, the facts of the case, actually, that will make the court to reach a decision that will make you know whether you have gone off the border, whether what you have committed is something that is so grievous and all that.
Dr. Uzoma, would you like to jump in there before I come to DIG?
Yes, in line with situation ethics, his assertions are very correct because the situation is what determines the positions of the court. And wherefore you have, just like the pronouncement of the governor, trying to give the citizenry the order to approach the commissioner of police for gun license. In the other way around is an admission that there is actually insecurity that seems to be beyond the control of the state, and at the same time trying to charge the state security agencies to do more, because you don't expect the commissioner of police to issue license. Rather, on the other hand, he's telling the security agencies to sit up. Yes.
So you think it's somewhat of a chess, like a game of chess?
Absolutely.
DIG retired, of course. I'd like to come to you, and our panel has thrown up the issue of I'm not indicting the states now or saying they've not done let's call it spade a spade. The states have not done enough. And some persons would argue and I would like to play the devil's advocate here, that states calling on their citizens to apply for gun ownership are choosing to adjudicate their core responsibility of protecting their citizens. You know, these persons argue that by taxing people to rise and defend themselves with arms, that it will create further chaos. Barrister Ubani spoke to this earlier. Is this something you concur with? DIG retired?
Yes, well, of course, that must be made out of some disturbing situation or some helplessness, because it is translated to mean that those of them that are responsible for ensuring safety of the people and the property in that community or in that state have failed. So the man that is calling for citizens in that country to bear arms and to defend themselves is a statement to say that there isn't much that have been done by those who are supposed to ensure safety and guarantee safety of the people and their properties. But you can't not just translate that if any citizen dare go to get arms without license and bring that out and begin to shoot and kill a lot of people, he will account for that. But in self-defense, if your action is commensurate with the punishment, if it is to ensure that you save your life and save the life of others, like the last speaker said,
yes,
the lawyer, then it means that the law will look at that and see what you've done. I think that the governor that said the people in
the latest was Zamfara actually
should bear arms.
No, should apply to the police.
Apply to the police. Well, they are not going to get that from the police.
Okay.
But should apply to the appropriate authority. I think he's saying that out of the fact that that is the level that they've gone. And so it is a wake-up call for the security agencies and the military that are on ground.
Okay.
To look at that and address it quickly so as to ensure that the people don't go on self-help. If you go on self-help, they're going to get all kinds of implement and begin to attack people, and the wrong people might be attacked.
We'll come back to this issue of self-help and self-defense, or I mean whatever we choose to call it, private defense. But then, DIG retired, I would like to take you up on something you just said.
Yes.
I mean, of course, we've registered the fact that it's likely to cause more chaos, but are there not specific classifications for persons who can actually apply for firearm guns ownership in Nigeria? And on what grounds can someone like, say me, be refused gun ownership in Nigeria if I choose to apply to the Inspector General of Police?
As I speak, I don't think that I left in 2019.
Yes.
And I've been keeping pace of development, because once a police, always a policeman.
Yes.
I do not think that the authority or the power that is embedded in the Nigerian police and the IG, is at liberty to approve firearms. And while we're there in 2018, what the IG did was to mop up. We were mopping up arms in the hands of people. In fact, people were encouraged to surrender their arms for a fee. Surrender your arms for a fee, and a lot of people did. So what
you're saying until you left,
the General Police.
Yes, until you left, the police was not issuing licenses for gun ownership, aside for groups.
No, we were mopping.
Oh.
The police were mopping. They were not issuing license. Even the one for games that have been issued by the local government chairman, because there is another one kind of arms for gaming and for hunting that the chairman of any local government would have given. That wasn't there. And so for now, all I know, anybody who applied, the General Police will refer that to Mr. President. And I also know that the National Security Advisor has a role to play and advise Mr. President or whatever. and that's why it is. Unless it's just been changed, that is how it is.
Barrister Uzoma, let me take you back to some of the scenarios that we've created. Sorry, Dr. Uzoma, Barrister Ubani helped us to create certain scenarios that we have actually talked about here. But then in talking about how states might be seemingly adjudicating their core responsibility of protecting the citizenry to the citizens and taxing them to take up arms and defend themselves. You also described it as a game of chess. What are the likely scenarios? Now we know the players. What are the likely outcomes or game hands that we'll see playing out?
So the likely outcome is this: if peradventure those who already possess arms illegally, they now have some sort of moral burden to utilize it against an intruder at any provocations. So what that triggers is, in the society, is like drifting back into what they call a state of nihilism, which we departed from initially from the state of nature. So life is becoming more admission that life is becoming more nasty, brutish, and beyond bearing firearms, there are other maybe some sort of
the state you just described, is that the state where the United States is? Because the United States do not agree with you there that their Second Amendment is what you've just described.
The society evolves, you keep on strengthening, you meet challenges, so your recent challenge will determine, and the dynamics of the society will determine the kind of law how you are to amend or implement. But given our own peculiarities and situations, don't forget that yes, we are fighting insecurity, which actually rose to its peak far back 2011, before maybe some sort of state of emergency were granted in some states in the northeast. Now again, we are the build-up of election, and if you listen to the last conversation, the DIG made reference of 2018 precisely while in office, where the police did their mop-up arms. So we would have also asked the DIG if maybe the quantity, the volume of these arms that were mopped up, and how the police are able to secure them to make sure that they don't also go into the wrong hands. Because we see at the build-up of election, during campaigning, electioneering, we still see people bear some degree of unlicensed
very true
guns following political aspirants. You see them at the local government level and what have you. And don't also forget the cultists that we have from one campus to another, and the militants. They also bear guns, and maybe the police from their surveillance has some of this information. Are we also saying that some of these cultists or the militants have this gun license? And the answer obviously is no. So what is the police and other security agencies also doing in making sure that they recover these arms? And the last research I did, the Arms Prohibition Act of the state dates back to 2004. So, and by that 2004, for you to possess these firearms for gaming and sporting, there are some rigorous scrutiny you must undergo before the commissioner of police, that has to do with health check, your mental balance, your identity in the society, and what have you.
It will seem like I and Dr. Uzoma, we flipped roles now, because DIG, if you also listen like I did, he's just asked you a direct question. I don't know if you would like to respond to that. He's asked if there was perhaps a structure in place until you left in 2018 that monitored this mop-up that the police did to ensure that some of these guns retrieved and mopped up do not go into the hands of those shouldn't have them in the first place. He did reference the election as an example of where such arms could go to, and also reference Curtis as well. If I do recall, sometime early this year, there was a complaint about certain amount of ammunition and guns and ammunition, firearms and ammunition missing from the police armory. I mean, this is true. I mean, it's just giving some context to what we're talking about here.
But I would like to to overflow this issue and then maybe speak for the Nigerian police. But the much I know, and I know what does happen. A lot of people believe that the Nigerian police can carry their arms and go and sell. Forgetting that a lot of police officers and other security agencies that you saw how the Yamura, under the command of the Inspector General of Police, through the Commissioners of Police, some of them that are also very bad and not just bad, some were burnt. A lot of it were burnt. And so it's wrong to say that the police could bring out those arms and give them up. But we have bad eggs in every society. It is possible that some officers will do what we call a wall, will escape and then abandon their duties and go with them. There are also those who also must have also sold, and if that is found, is one of the punishment in this in the Nigerian police, that you are not only dismissed but you are sent into prison. And so there are very strong laws and rules that are set in place to ensure that these things don't go to the right hands and wrong hands. But like I told you, there are many ways that people every day bring in arms, and because of the porosity of the border, and because of several other interaction with the society and with other countries, it is very, very clear and possible, and it's on records that a lot of arms come through our borders, that if we want to mention, they're all there.
Yes.
And so I think that the government and the Nigerian police should do everything possible to ensure that these borders are protected. But as you protect those ones you identify, the porosity is so much that you are not likely to have the security and the personnel that will actually block those. And that's why we're asking for the communities that live at the borders to be very nationalistic and also to have that zeal that they will be the people to point out, because they see, they watch, but they do not talk.
So, I mean, because you've just raised the critical issue of proliferation of small and light weapons, and I mean, in Nigeria, is that enough to curb the spread and drastically reduce the numbers like was seen in Nigeria? I mean, just so, we engage the border communities and ask them to provide information. What more can we do to reduce proliferation in small and light weapons in Nigeria? That's part of the problem.
Yeah, but if you have to succeed, whatever you want to put on ground, if you are bringing in the cameras and the drones and what have you, you need to seek also the cooperation of the border communities, because the border communities kept thinking, in most cases when you get them, we've interacted with them, they say, after all, the government does not know us, the government does not bring social amenities. In some border towns in this country, some of the people enjoyed from the border town of the another country. Because they do not have good schools, they do not have clean water and the rest, and so their loyalty, their devotion and dedication to the government of the day where they belong is not there. And so they find an opportunity of exploiting. They encourage those who smuggle goods, items like food. They also encourage them in terms of arms, in terms of vehicles. They said that, and they would tell you that our forefathers were here, and that was what they were doing to survive. And so until we are able to change the border community and provide the necessity and make them look at what is happening as a very dangerous trend that leads to death and what have you, and then they will be able to do something.
Fantastic. I hear you. Barrister Ubani, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, great. Sorry to have kept you this long, but of course I know you have listened in to the conversation, and you get a sense of where Dr. Uzoma and DIG retired are coming from. And even though states, especially the ones that have called on their citizens, and now I'm taking our discourse back to the core issue that we're discussing here. Even though these states are torn and conflicted between the need to protect their citizens as contained in sections 14 to, the subset B of that in the 1999 Constitution, and how best to respond within the legal framework. You've outlined that earlier. I said it's knowing there are underlying principles, of course, to self-defense and private defense, whatever way you choose to describe it. But at what point can the failure of state inability of states to adequately provide protection for lives and property justify some provisos for self-defense, or would that be a function of legislation in Nigeria?
I don't know at what point that inability can be justified or taken over by the citizens themselves. Unless we're saying that there's no more government. As long as government does exist, as long as government does exist, government cannot abdicate. Government cannot abdicate from the very core responsibility of governance, which is what we have said is the protection of lives and property and the welfare, provision of welfare services to the state, to the country, to the citizens. These are the basic responsibility of governance. Now, if the leadership that is there is not doing well, the people owe a responsibility in performing their civic responsibility by voting out that government that is clearly unable to provide those things that I consider the core of governance. That is the issue. Then, having said that, the issue of security also involves everyone. All of us have to be very conscious of our environment. Make sure that we also assist the security agencies in reporting any person or any of these moves we consider to be very criminal. We report it to them for investigation, especially where there is a clear relationship that is cordial between the security agents and the people. The people must also provide vital information, because police no be spirit, they are human beings too. So they require those adequate information that can help. Now, there is a complete failure at times, that allows certain things to linger on in this nation. When we are talking, you see the idea you mentioned, we have a porous border. And over years, as I speak to you, my brother, there has been no conscious effort on the part of government to ensure that our borders are well policed and protected. People are coming in at will and exiting. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world except in Nigeria. When you are going to Britain, you and I know, at the airport, they take statistics, they take data of when you are coming in, when you are leaving. And of course, if you don't leave within the time you have already given them, they know. The system will be monitoring you. At the end, one day you'll be caught out on the street and deported. But here is a country where people from Niger all over are coming into the country without any hindrance. And they come with all these weapons we are talking about, both light and medium, and they bring them in. Because if the police have been mopping up, how come we have even more arms and ammunition, in the country, with which people commit all manner of crime? All over. There's no state in Nigeria today that is safe, except everyone for himself, God follow for. So it is important that these things are things we should openly discuss, and then government should take responsibility by making sure that these things are done. Protect our border. Don't allow this thing. I don't know whether for any reason, I don't know what reason why they allow citizens of other countries to be coming into the country. I don't know. And it's ongoing for many years. I don't know whether for political reasons, I don't know whether for voting reasons, but whatever it is, something has to be done about our border. The porousness of the border contributes to the state of insecurity in Nigeria. I tell you this, and this is a national television, and I'm very happy I have this opportunity under NT. If we want to solve security problem in this country, hear my mouth, sir. I'm saying it here, and I won't in any way renege on this. Let's empower the local government properly. Let there be a proper administration at the local government level in terms of all the budgetary allocation, and if they have enough funds, every local government is secured. Nigeria will be secure. If I secure my own local government, I'm from Ikuano, and the local government chairman, everyone that enters there is under my jurisdiction. I should be able to know who comes in, who is a visitor, and man my own local government. The man in Kano, man his own local government. The man in the Zamfara, man. If all the local government in the country is properly funded and policed, Nigeria will be safe. But the moment we have abandoned that local government level and over centralized our architecture, our security architecture, everything must come from Abuja, everything must end with Abuja. That's why we're having the state of insecurity.
I hear you, Barrister.
The people in government know it, but they will not allow it. They just want the insecurity to continue because they're making so much money out of the system. But if we agree with ourselves, we can solve this problem without all those analysts every day coming to television telling us everything about the issue of insecurity. We can solve it. Let every local government be protected.
I do agree with you there, Barrister Ubani. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, you've said it. You've hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt that empowering the local government at that level, I mean, would go a long way in resolving and curbing crime and criminality in Nigeria. I mean, gentlemen, we are out of time. We spent the greater part of 35-40 minutes. I mean, on this discussion. But very quickly before we go, I would like to have your final words, Dr. Uzoma, very quickly.
Okay, well, my advice is for the state security agencies to sit up, because we have more problems with the elections drawing near national elections. The police really need to do mop up arms and enhance security of lives and property.
DIG retired, I would have loved to take you up on the issue of community policing and accountability and the transparency of the activities of some of these vigilante groups that we've seen operating in parts of the country. Some of them have ethnic connotations, and we do not know who they account to and how the activities are being regulated. But of course, we'll leave this for another conversation. Very quickly before you go, there's a final word we would like for you to just say real quick before we wrap up. Yeah.
There's no doubt most of the governors in the various states have the responsibility of security and safety. It's one of the security and welfare. And I urge that the commissioners of police in the various states must be co-opted, must be brought in while trying to plan. Whatever kind of security outfit within the environment you want to set them up, you have to tinker with the commissioner of police and the DPOs. They will give you very good advice wherein you make deployment, and nobody will come into your community and get out without being identified. No crime will be committed without finding out who did. If we do that, we're likely to succeed very well.
I thank you so much, gentlemen. I would like to thank all three of you for your profound thoughts on this conversation today. I mean, this is quite a delicate matter. It's an ongoing conversation, and so hopefully we will be able from time to time to call on you and have your take on this issue. Barrister Ubani in Lagos, I hope the rains have not started while we were having this conversation. I hope it's still bright and sunny in Lagos.
You didn't give me opportunity for my own last statement. So,
please go ahead. Please go ahead, real quick.
So, I think that the electorate should be awake. Anyone that is coming for governance that will not have a robust prescription on how to solve our security situation should not be given the opportunity.
Fantastic. I hear you loud and clear. Barrister Monday Ubani, one-time chairman, Ikeja branch of the NBA, and past second vice president of the NBA. I'd like to thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. Dr. Kingsley Uzoma, the security expert and analyst, public affairs analyst as well. I'd like to thank you as well for joining us in this conversation.
Thank you for the opportunity.
DIG Abila Josiak, retired, former Deputy Inspector General of Police Department of Operations. I would like to also thank you so much for coming on Insight.
Thank you for bringing me here.
And that's it for now. Up next is Elizabeth Omori for the rest of the program.
The 2021 World Drug Report released by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime shows that around 275 million people used drugs worldwide last year, while over 36 million people suffered from drug use disorders. The report further revealed that in the last 24 years, cannabis potency had increased by as much as 4 times in parts of the world, even as the percentage of adolescents who perceived the drug as harmful fell by as much as 40%. Despite evidence that cannabis use is associated with a variety of health and other harms, especially among regular long-term users. Low perception of drug use risks has been linked to higher rates of drug use, and findings highlight the need to close the gap between perception and reality to educate young people and safeguard public health. The question is, how do we close the gaps and protect public health? My guest, Special Advisor to the Chairman, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Otumba Lanre Ipimosho, will deal on the issue before us. Mr. Ipimosho, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nigerians.
All right, UNODC's 2021 report on drug use is quite disturbing, considering the group mostly affected, the youth. What exactly are your thoughts?
I agree with you absolutely. That's disturbing, it's frightening. The strength of a nation is found in its youth. So a nation is as weak as its youth. Unfortunately, our youth are the most creative you can find anywhere in the world. I'll give you an example. The boys in the creek, Goodluck Jonathan, Mr. President, removed them, and within 6 months, some of them were flying aircrafts. Boys in the creek. That tells you how resourceful our youth could be. I went somewhere to watch football in commemoration of this today. And we say yesterday, it's amazing the talent of our youth. And we need to wake up like yesterday to catch up, not just to catch up, but we have to be ahead of the people we are planning for. So that is what took this government into looking at what is it that is making the youth attractive to those who recruit them for crimes. Banditry, kidnapping, armed robbery, assassination, all these are centered upon the use of drugs. There is no cell that you dissolve, no camp that you dissolve that you will not find the issue of drugs in it. Which means if we want to be at peace as a nation, if we want our security as a nation, if we want our healthy nation with less stress and demand on our very weak health infrastructure, we should pay attention to this issue of drug abuse.
All right, let me quickly take you on the issue of cannabis. It was highlighted in that report, and looks like nations do not really have control over it. Why is this so, including Nigeria?
You know, it's behavioral. It's a behavioral. For as long as there is demand, there will be a supplier.
There's always a chain.
As you know, as you are mounting pressure for it, we may be attacking the suppliers, but then the few who are able to risk it will now be paid more. This is the issue. That's why the management decided on based on the recommendation of National Drug Control Master Plan, which was designed to meet the challenges, that the two-pronged approach must be held in equal seriousness. That the approach is don't demand. Drug is definitely not an option. If you are weak in a particular subject, you now start taking drugs because you want the subject to be out of your mind. No. You will weigh the other good areas. You are bad in mathematics, yeah? So you now win every other thing that is in you. Parents need to go very close to their children. The most important responsibility of a father and a mother is parenting. Unfortunately, there are no schools for parenting. There's just one or two courses in psychology and all that. We should, now if your mother did it wrongly, you most likely will be doing it wrongly, because that's what you know. You can't give more than you have. We need to pay attention to this.
Okay. All right. If you look across the various components of the media on a daily basis, drug traffickers are arrested. And with new ideas to move their products, they conceal them in diapers, cigarette packs, bedspreads, and so many other funny ways. What exactly are we not doing to nip this in the bud? It looks like the laws are not biting.
Yes, one major problem we have is the sentencing does not reach the problem on the ground. The sentencing does not reach the calamities that come with drugs. The judiciary of our country has improved tremendously over the past 10 years in the area of drugs. We must work together. The court does not have its own country to live in if we allow drugs to ravage us. And the children of the judiciary are children of this country. They have no other country to run to. We must view this from the same lens. Drug is not something you hide under your roof and you pretend that it's not there. There are parents who don't sleep at night when you are snoring in your house. So many like that. And unfortunately, people think that it will be ascribed to you or your son takes drugs, so they don't come out early enough. They give them all sorts of things to drink. It does not work. There's nothing that comes before a drug addict. Nothing. There's nothing you cannot do to get the next one. So we must take it as serious as we took COVID or even more. Please check your domestic servants that you brought into the home and serve your family. You find out that some of these, they are in favor with your children, so loved. I don't know what type of love they have for your children, that they will be supplying them with drugs and picking extra money from your house. You need to pay attention. Everything that is wrong with your house, as a big man, this little children, they are aware. The guy that washes your car, the guy that cuts the lawn, they are aware that it's not as rosy for you. It's only you that is a stranger in your house. You need to pay attention. So that is our aim. And we are collaborating by the grace of God with relevant internal and external agencies. UNODC, a European Union, they've committed so much in this course. It's amazing how they could be so committed. Before we ask, they are with us. Right as I feel with you, they are with us. Then we have our local partners, particularly the parents. The parents are the first and the last, because this whole thing is about each home. In most cases, the mother gets to know first, but she doesn't want trouble in the house, so everybody is keeping it away from the father, who probably has a way out of it. Reconcile your family. Let them know that one person on drug in the house can make the house very, very unpeaceful. Number one. Number two, the schools. There are schools that don't pay attention to this issue of drugs. They kill the stories. Some schools have lost like an average of 5 students in a year. I know universities where this have happened, and everybody is pretending that it's not true. We want the authorities that supervise universities to pay attention to this. The federal government can only do the best. Without your collaboration, we cannot succeed.
Interesting. Otumba Larry Ipemosho, Special Advisor to the Chairman, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, we want to thank you so much for enlightening us on the segment.
Thank you so much.
Amina Mohammed, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala.
Agencies and stakeholders to proactively tackle these challenges.
Women in most countries of the world constitute about 50% of registered voters. Williams, reporting for Dateline 360.
Jones, Caleb Gochin, Deadline 360.
Deadline 360. Chidi Okrafo.
For Deadline 360.
In Lagos, Michael Olaleye.
Reporting for Deadline 360.
I am Omosola Omojola. Thanks for tuning in to Deadline 360.
And that's it on this episode of the program. Do join at the same time next week for more on Insight. My name is Nnamdi Odipo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. Stay away from drugs. We'll see you next week.
Wannan labarin ma yana peji na 36.
Ita kuma babban labarin wannan jarida shine ainihin labarin da ake gaban jarida shine ta bayyana cewa
Ko kuwa ji kan
Wannan muke.
ike chukwu ndikwe. Ido mam iji wee mee ka ụbọchị na-aga n'anya ya.
Nation fún ti òwúrọ̀ yìí ibẹ̀ náà ti sọ pé àwọn ìgbìmọ̀ aláṣẹ ìpínlẹ̀ Benue pàṣẹ wípé
ní gbogbo àwọn ẹ̀ka, ní ẹ̀ka ètò ẹ̀kọ́, ní ẹ̀ka ètò ìlera, ní ẹ̀ka ètò ààbò. Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
Everything music.
Angelina.
It is a widely held belief that blood is life, a medical fact that is more appreciated during emergencies when this life-giving red fluid is in their need. An average adult walks around with about 1.2 to 1.5 gallons of blood circulating in his body. On humanitarian ground, he may be called upon to roll up his sleeves and give up some pints of his blood to save other people's lives. In the face of such demand for our precious blood, what has been the attitude of members of the society? Where such calls are promptly heeded, what are the issues surrounding it for donors and the rest of us? Time to answer these important questions is upon us as Panorama takes a look at the culture of blood donation in Nigeria. I am Adeola Komi Akere, but don't forget that you can follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/alllive and on YouTube at NTA News Online. You can also visit our Facebook page at NTA Network News. Our Twitter handle is at NTA News Now and on Instagram at NTA Network for updates. We'll be right back. Nigeria continues to celebrate and raise awareness of the contribution of the micro, small and medium enterprises to sustainable development and the global economy as it joins the rest of the world to mark the 2022 World MSME Day. Vice President Yemi Oshibajo at the 5th Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Awards in Abuja says the nation's entrepreneurs have demonstrated that the country has everything going its way for a major industrial revolution. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
Everyone is a winner, including Vice President Yemi Oshibajo, who's been presented with this crafted muscular arm, which indicates the strength at which the Vice President is carrying out government support for the micro, small and medium enterprises in the country.
This is the significant improvement that have been made that have been established between the private sector and the federal government over the years. The
The Vice President discussed what these entrepreneurs have achieved as building blocks for industrial revolution, which will propel the country to prosperity.
These MSMEs tell the story of our country's great economic future. We are set to manufacture our own vehicles, as we've seen, clean energy trucks and cars, and we are on course to manufacturing our own weapons, our own mobile platforms, and aircraft. We have everything that it takes.
The ultimate aim of government is to continue encouraging and improving MSME activities in the country.
Of the National MSME Clinics, the shared facilities for MSMEs, the one-stop shops, the MSME Survival Fund, as well as numerous other federal government MSME schemes across the country. It is therefore critical for any government in its strive for achieving greatness to build trust among different sectors of its populace. And this is what the federal government has done within the MSME sector.
The award is in 10 categories with various cash rewards and a car for each of the categories. States were also recognized for their contributions to the growth of the sector.
You do not need to have billions to start a business. All you need is an idea.
Calling to all Nigerians, especially graduates, to make something in their house. Stop wasting their time looking job on the hand of government while there is no job available.
And Vice President Osinbajo announced that the MSME Awards will now be a regular annual celebration of excellence and innovation in the sector and to draw more prospects.
From the conference center of the State House, Jide Onifade, Inter News.
Against drug abuse. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, is canvassing increased sensitization against abuse of substance and as a starting point to augment its enforcement drive with advocacy. The agency in Lagos is soliciting support for the implementation of its War Against Drug Abuse campaign. The commander of NDLEA in Lagos, Alumona Callis, stated this in commemoration of the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. Michael Olaleye has the report.
There are statistics to back up the milestone achieved in the fight against illicit substance abuse and trafficking in Nigeria. In Lagos State, for instance, about 58,000 kilograms worth of drugs have been seized, 336 suspects arrested, 56 convicted, and 97 cancelled within 7 months. It is a progressive trend, but there is need to intensify actions based on the simple notion that activities of drug dealers is hindering accessibility by those in need of medications due to health reasons, especially the internally displaced persons. The theme for this year's International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, addressing drug challenges in health and humanitarian crises, is offering a window of hope as regard accessibility and affordability of drugs, and the NDLEA, capitalizing on the National Drug Control Master Plan 2021 to 2025, is strengthening systems to achieve the goal.
To those that are still held-bent in illicit drug trafficking, our message is stop while there is chance. We will intensify efforts to save our children from destruction. Illicit substances causes both to the individual, family, community, economy, social life, security, among others.
In furtherance of its advocacy, the NDLEA has commenced plans to launch War Against Drug Abuse (WADA) in Lagos. It is a drug reduction strategy unveiled in 2021.
May I use this forum to equally thank Mr. Governor for his uncommon developmental stride and appeal to him to assist and strengthen the agency with logistics to carry out our duties and to partner with us to launch WADA in the state to stem the dangerous tide of substance abuse and trafficking.
With efforts already channeled to seizure and prosecution, this new direction of demand reduction strategy will no doubt eliminate the constraints that once stand in the way of making drugs available for those in need of them genuinely. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NT News.
He who gives blood, experts believe, gives life. This submission underscores the importance of blood to human existence. In this report, Kenya DBC takes a look at the culture of blood donation among Nigerians.
Disasters and life-threatening situations oftentimes leave many victims in desperate need of blood.
We need blood for them. As many people that are within the hospital environment, we come and please assist.
Just like this call, many others are hanging on to life with hope that they would be rescued by acts of kindness by blood donors. Situations like these accentuate the need for more priority to be given to blood banks and donations.
I've never donated blood because I have low iron, and I feel people should donate blood because of pregnant women in the hospitals and also people who have low blood too.
Concerning blood donation, I've done that I think about 5 years ago when one of my friends, the wife, the neighbor.
If I have the opportunity to donate my blood, I will.
Data by the World Health Organization shows that Nigeria needs an average of 1.8 million pints of blood annually to keep the health of our people safe and sound. There is hope of life for someone in your blood donation is an adage that cannot be denied.
Blood donation is very important because it's universal. Usually a universal demand for blood. Unfortunately, the supply has been a major challenge globally, and it is because some health challenges which are in different climes require blood donation.
So if the person is bleeding quite seriously, it's easy to bleed out, and that means that the body organs in a short while might be dying, because they're not getting the supply of blood, which really carries oxygen to keep all of the body cells and organs working optimally.
Blood donors are considered to be heroes because they pass on blood, which is life and life-saving.
There shouldn't be a need for an urgent call for people to come to donate. And we know when urgent call comes like that, if one is not able to meet up to the call on time, the life that is at risk of complications might actually not wait for that kind of intervention. So it is very, very important that we have enough pool of blood in the bank for patients to be able to use when there is a need for it.
Your droplets of blood can create an ocean of happiness. It is only human to put smiles on the faces, and you can do that by becoming a blood donor. In Lagos, Kende at ABC Engineering.
Now joining me in the studio to give more insight into how important the culture of donating blood should be is a consultant hematologist from the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, Professor Alani Suleiman Akon. Thank you for joining us on Panorama.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, now tell us how important is blood to us as human beings?
Okay, without blood, we don't have a life. Your breathing is because you have blood. What is essentially we call the life is oxygen in the air that helps us to metabolize what we call glucose and give us energy. You do not have access to oxygen in the air if there's no molecule in your body that is able to attract the oxygen in the air and take it to the tissues. So that important protein that is capable of complexing with oxygen that enters to our lungs and takes it to the tissue is the blood, or in particular the red cell, or the protein inside the as we call hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the protein that is capable of interacting with the oxygen and is able to deliver that oxygen into our tissues. What oxygen is used for in our tissues is that we call oxygen as the last electron acceptor in a metabolic reaction that we call tricarboxylic acid cycle and electron transport chain pathway. That is a pathway where what we call ATP or energy is generated in the human body, and you need that energy for everything. I'm talking, I need that energy. I'm moving, I need that energy. Even when sleep, I still need to think, I need that energy. And you actually need oxygen for you to be able to derive that energy from the food that you eat. So without oxygen, there's no life. And the only way that we can get oxygen to the tissue is to have our red cells.
So we must make sure we have.
You let out blood from an individual. is just put a knife on the jugular of the animal is gone.
Yeah, I understand. Just
as simple as that.
Just as water is important to man, blood is likewise very, very important to human being.
The cheaper your requirement, the more important your requirement for life is, the cheaper it is. The cheapest thing to have in life that you don't pay for is the oxygen. You don't pay for it. Next to oxygen is the water. Water is the milieu in which all reactions in the human body takes place, and it must be very cheap. You don't have that water. If the I'm talking about that oxygen participating will not work.
All right. Okay. Now, is blood donation a widespread practice? In among Nigerians? If not, why should it be a culture that people should key into?
It is not, and because of the myth that surrounds blood donation. People believe that giving their blood is giving their life, and then their own life is shortened. In fact, it is the reverse. When you give blood, you are in a position to give blood regularly. We say that an individual who has met the definition of a voluntary returning blood donor has an extension of his lifespan by 3 to 5 years more than an individual who has never donated blood. And we can explain why that is. So the truth of the matter is that when you donate blood regularly, where your blood is from, where we call the bone marrow, that particular place does not age. As we grow, as we age, our capacity to form blood is reducing. But an individual who is regularly donating blood, the aging process of the bone marrow is retarded, so that an individual who is age 70, 75, who has been a regular blood donor, will see the bone marrow as if it's that of 45, 50-year-old person. That is what God Almighty has given to all of us.
Okay, Prof. Quite a revelation there. But we'll ask you to hold on to that thought while we'll take a break.
These days, everyone has any information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Thank you for staying on to Panorama. I still have Professor Akomo with us here talking about the importance of blood donation. Now, Prof, who can donate blood? There is this myth that women, because of their monthly visitation, and mainly discouraged from, being a blood donor. Is this true? So,
male and female, age more than 18 years and less than 65 years are qualified to donate blood. Female that is lactating, female that is menstruating, female that is pregnant are exempted from donations. But outside of those periods, a woman has the capacity to donate. What is important is that when you come to volunteer to donate blood, we must find you fit to donate blood, because we subject you to what we call blood donor fitness test. Once you pass that test, you are fine.
Okay, and now for those who donate blood, is there any meal they will take to, recoup?
Yes, when you donate blood, you let out significant amount of iron from the body. I would like you to recover that iron. So that is why we normally give iron supplement after every episode of donation, and we expect that people should be able to safely donate blood about 4 times in a year But the recommendation actually is that to meet the transfusion requirement of any population, like you one of your projections there, that Nigeria require about 2 million blood donors or 2 million units of blood to be donated per annum to be able to meet transfusion requirement of Nigerians. But what we are collecting per annum in Nigeria is about 500 to 600,000 pints of blood. It's a huge gap.
Okay.
A huge gap.
Yeah. Now, some also do it for pecuniary benefits. How widespread is this, and where does this practice leave the society?
Unfortunately, that is the most common practice of blood donation in our community. People volunteer, people give their blood for financial remunerations, for commercial purposes, in major way by which people, and it's the type of blood that is not desirable, it's type of that we actually do not want, because people who will request for money before they give their blood, they are the same people who will do anything for money. These are the people, when we test their blood, they are more likely to be positive for hepatitis B, they are more likely to be positive for syphilis, they are more likely to be positive for HIV. They are the people that we have what we call small volume blood. You collect that blood is not even useful to the recipient. So we really do not want this category of people. That's why we need to talk about healthy people who know, who have regular means of livelihood to come forward and donate blood.
Okay. All right. Lastly, briefly, as brief as you can, we know here of a rare blood types. Now, how rare are they, and how have we been getting them when they are needed?
So it's the resource D negative blood that is actually very rare. In our population, we have about only 6% of the population that are resource D negative. So when a resource D negative person requires to be transfused with blood, it becomes problem, because 95% of people that are actually donating are resource D positive blood. That is, and we always keep record of people with rare blood donors, so that we have blood group donors. So that when we meet them, we just on the phone, we call them, come and help out.
Thank you, Professor Akama, for your insights on donating blood. Nigerians now know the importance of being a blood donor. Thank you for your time on Panorama.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Moving on now, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has dismissed the interlocutory application of a leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, seeking the court to reverse itself on the revocation of his bail and issuance of bench warrant against him. Justice Binta Nyako gave the order a short while ago while ruling on the defendant applicant's interlocutory application. Justice Nyako also dismissed the motion that Nnamdi Kanu was not given fair hearing before the court revoked his bail in 2019. The court described the interlocutory application of Nnamdi Kanu as an abuse of court process. Now, for newly registered students and all interested persons who wish to upgrade and become professionals in their areas of interest at the Center for International Advanced and Professional Studies, CIAPS, all is now set for the resumption of academic activities for the third quarter of 2022. Center Director Professor Anthony Kila made this known at the induction of new students in Lagos. Diana Jari has details.
This popular saying, no knowledge is a waste, and age is not a barrier to learning, especially for those who wish to flow with the trend. In a challenging environment, it's what these young graduates are portraying. From various universities within and outside Nigeria, they are here with a common goal, which is upgrading their expertise in different fields. This can only be achieved by getting the right training from a professional institution. This is what the Center for International Advanced and Professional Studies, CIAPS, an innovative institution, is projecting at the induction of its new students.
It has really been an insightful session. I must say I've learned a lot. I've had to relearn some things and unlearn some things as well.
I want the best from them. I think I'll get. We build graduates into becoming more professional for certain job applications they may be looking for. Most applications out there only are looking for people who have certain amount of experience.
I would really like to improve my scope of knowledge in terms of content creation and also to meet the right consumers' need.
Center Director CAPS, Professor Anthony Kila, advised the newly inducted students to do their best during the training period in order to develop a vision that can improve the society at large.
These are people who have first degrees who are now training to be professionals in specific field for their career. We hope that in the next 4 to 5 months they will be in positions to impact society with the knowledge and skills they acquire.
Academic activities for the third quarter are expected to commence soon. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
We just have enough time to take sports with Gifts Judge.
Nigeria and 15 other African teams are competing in the FIBA Basketball World Cup 2023 African qualifiers through 5 tournament windows over 15 months. The qualifiers is running from November 2021 to February 2023 with 5 African national teams in the sport in the FIBA Basketball World Cup in Japan, Indonesia, and Philippines. Nigeria's D Tigers' next match in the FIBA Basketball World Cup qualifiers is against Cape Verde. In squash, stakeholders of the game have called for more regional tournaments and better collaboration amongst member states in the West African sub-region. This was at the 2-day international friendly squash tournament between Nigeria and Ghana, which ended at the Ikuri Club. Team Nigeria dominated the tournament, beating the Ghanaians who are going for the Commonwealth Games by 18 games to nothing.
The West African, we are just coming up. The Northern African are the one dominating the squash, both in the African and in the world. But you see, with this kind of interaction, the friendly game, that means we are coming up.
Nigerians have a lot of professional players who play in the PSA and other top championships. We are now building a team.
In boxing, it was all thrills at the 119th edition of the Lagos Boxing Show. A total of 10 bouts featured in various weight categories. Experts insist on the sponsorship of the game by corporate bodies and exposure of boxers at major international competitions.
We are the conveyor belt along which the youngsters pass through to professional boxing.
In football, Nigerian striker Odion Igalo and his team Al Hilal have emerged champions of the Saudi Arabian Professional League after a 2-1 victory over Al Fasari on the last day of the season. Igalo was the hero of the night with a brace. The Nigerian striker also finished as the highest goal scorer in the league with 24 goals and 5 assists in 30 games. With Sports Update, Gift George, NTA News.
And that's it in Panorama today. Before we go, remember that the fastest and easiest way to becoming a star is to connect with the NTA to stand against rape and rapists. I am Adeola Komiakiri. Enjoy the rest of your day.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Together, no matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. Let's stop fighting each other. Let us live as one. It doesn't matter where you come from, what tribe or religion, man, woman or child. It doesn't matter who you are, who's Nigerian first. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's be together.
How can we develop? We're always in crisis. Families have become refugees in their country. No matter our differences, show some understanding.
No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's be together.
Hello, it's a warm welcome to Sports Radio, reaching live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I'm Good George.
NTA Tuesday Live, analytical, in-depth, educative and interactive on national issues, accommodating all sides of opinions.
We as a people have understood that we have to fight corruption before it fights us back.
Poverty has a financial index, so it should be fought also with a financial weapon. Give it to the social investments program. It has been a very courageous battle.
Tuesday Live, every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Join us.
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News Mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the You Report link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go. NTA News Mobile app, your access to real-time information.
This is the network service of the NTA.